During our time, we used to have something called adult education. Adult education, in Swahili they used to call it masomo ya watu wazima. But then, people started joking with it and they called it masomo ya watu wazimu. So we changed it later and started calling it masomo ya GHUMBARU. GHUMBARU. Now there were two types of GHUMBARU, I want to say. First, we had the Ministry of Social Services. Education, adult education was not in the Ministry of Education. It was under the Ministry of Social Services, where adults should be collected. Teachers used to get, primary school teachers used to get 885 salary, but we used to have part-time teachers who used to get 450 shillings, where you'd be given a trading center and look for adults. By adults I say, the youngest is 18 years old and the oldest is 60 years. You'd collect them into a social hall, start educating them basic written, basic spoken, Swahili and English and mathematics. And if I'm not wrong, the highest level they used to go was standard 7 primary level. Now, for a teacher to teach that, usually they used to be untrained teacher, because trained teachers would go to a Ministry of Education and become P1, P2, P3 or even P4 teachers. And if you are an adult education teacher, you used to organize with your students when the most appropriate time for them. You see, many of them used to look after their, either they were farmers or cattle herders, but mostly cattle herders, because those arid areas are areas that did not have education. So they would look after their cattle, and if they are farming, they would go plant or anything. Then mostly adult education used to meet in the afternoon, from noon to 4. That is when your children have come from school and they are now looking after the cattle. Or if it is farming, you have completed farming, and now you have completed farming, and now you are free to go and do your lessons. So it was just basic, read, write. It used to be 3 hours. Read, write, and arithmetics. And then there are those people who used to join the military. Yes, even police. We had police officers who joined and were illiterate. But the military had an advantage in that they had people they used to call education officers. One of the education officers was my classmate in Form 5, Form 6, James Chemiat Kisongochi. So they would even find time there to read and just be in a classroom like any other. Nowadays, I do not know whether we have such facilities. Lastly, I want to talk about two things. One thing, I want to talk about tuition. During our time, the school didn't have tuition, and the schools didn't have tuition, and what used to happen is when others have gone for games or anything after 3:30, you'd rush to somebody's place and he would coach you. Let's say one person coaching about up to 10 to 15 students at his house. That is what used to be tuition during our time. I don't know when it changed, in that the school you pay fees and then the teachers aside ask you for tuition money. During our time, tuition money was not done in the schools. Lastly, nursery schools. There is somebody in my primary school group who was asking people to identify themselves My primary school was Mbagathi Road Primary School. Now he was asking if anybody remembers having gone to Anderson Hall for his or her primary. During our time, social halls and churches were used as nursery. I even remember I didn't go for nursery before primary, but when I attended standard 2, in Masai land, standard 2 used to report to school at 11, at noon. So in the morning I would go for nursery up to 11. I nearly said 5. Up to 11, then go home, change, and go to school, so that I do the afternoon classes as a standard 2. So those are the 3 things I wanted us to share today. I wanted us to share this thing called tuition during my time. I wanted to share with you adult education, and I also wanted to share with you nursery school. Thank you.